Hello and welcome back to my readings of the Gosho. My name is Elisa, and today I will start what I suspect will be a longer project since I'm going to read the Rissho Ankoku, or Establishing the True Teaching for the Peace of the Land, which is in Volume 1 and the next Gosho in the series of my readings. I'm going to start by reading the background, which is somewhat lengthy. And then in the next video, I will begin the Gosho itself. At the end, I can read the background from the old volume just for comparison. So here's the background from the Writings of Nichiren Daishonin, Volume 1, on establishing the correct teaching. On the 28th day of the 4th month, 1253, Nichiren Daishonin established the teaching of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo at Seichoji Temple in his native province of Awa, and later he returned to Kamakura, the seat of the military government, to begin propagation. In examining the records, we find that those days, the era names were changed frequently. The year 1253 was in the Kencho era. 3 years later, in 1256, the era name changed to Kogen, and the next year to Shoka. Then 2 years later, in 1259, it was changed to Shogen, the following year to Bunno, and the year after that to Kocho. In the 5 years from 1256 to 1261, the era name changed 5 times. An era name was usually changed only on the accession of a new emperor or when some natural disaster of severe proportions occurred. The frequency of these changes attests to the magnitude of the disasters that struck Japan during this period. Soon after the Daishonin's arrival, Kamakura and the country as a whole faced a series of disasters and conflicts that served to emphasize his conviction that the latter day of the law had indeed been entered upon. On the 6th day of the 8th month of 1256, torrential rainstorms caused floods and landslides, destroying crops and devastating much of Kamakura. In the 9th month of the same year, an epidemic swept through the city, taking many lives. During the 5th, 8th, and 11th months of 1257, violent earthquakes rocked the city, and the 6th and 7th months witnessed a disastrous drought. Most frightful of all was an earthquake of unprecedented scale that occurred on the 23rd day of the 8th month. The year 1258 witnessed no lessening of natural calamities. The 8th month saw storms destroy crops throughout the nation, and floods in Kamakura drowned numerous people. In the 10th month of the same year, Kamakura was visited by heavy rains and severe floods. In the first month of 1258, fires consumed Jufukuji Temple, and in 1259, epidemics and famine were rampant, and a violent rainstorm decimated crops. Nichiren Daishonin sought answers to the cause of these disasters in the scriptural writings of Buddhism. In an effort to clarify it, he went to Jisoji Temple at Iwamoto in Suruga province, and he stayed there from 1258 through the middle of 1260. As a major temple of the Tendai school in eastern Japan, Jisoji housed many important sutras in its scripture library. The Daishonin pored over them all. As a result, Nichiren Daishonin found evidence for his theory in such sutras as the Benevolent Kings, Medicine Master, Great Collection, and Golden Light. He quotes passages from these sutras in the present text on establishing the correct teaching for the peace of the land, or Rissho Ankoku, chronologically the first of his 5 major works. The work was originally written in classical Chinese and submitted to Hojo Tokiyori through the offices of high-ranking government official Yadoya Mitsunori on the 16th day of the 7th month in the first year of Bunno, 1260. Tokiyori was then living in retirement, but was still the most influential member of the ruling Hojo clan. The work occasioned no immediate reaction, and no official response was made to the Daishonin. But the members of the government were incensed at the rational but unrelenting attack the work made on the Pure Land teachings of Honen and his followers. Government officials who were Pure Land followers apparently encouraged an attack made on the Daishonin's dwelling at Nagoe in Kamakura on the 27th day of the 8th month. The Daishonin narrowly escaped and made his way to the province of Shimosa to stay at the home of a follower. He returned to Kamakura early in the following year, 1261. He remained continually under the threat of persecution and was summarily banished to Izu on the 12th day of the 5th month of the same year. The work consists of a dialogue between a host and a visitor. The host represents Nichiren Daishonin, and the visitor, it is thought, represents Hojo Tokiyori. At the outset, the host lays the blame for the disasters that have befallen the country on the belief in an erroneous religion, the Pure Land teachings of Honen. Presented are numerous scriptural references to disasters that will befall a nation that follows false teachings. The Daishonin puts particular emphasis on a passage in the Medicine Master Sutra that describes 7 types of disasters that will strike such a nation. Of these calamities, he points out, 5 have already occurred, and 2, the calamity of invasion from foreign lands and the calamity of revolt within one's own domain, have yet to occur. The Daishonin cautions that these will come about if the doctrines of the Lotus Sutra are not followed. Later, the prophecies of internal strife and foreign invasion were fulfilled when Hojo Tokisuke revolted against his younger half-brother, Regent Hojo Tokimuni, in 1272, and when the Mongols attacked Japan twice in 1274 and 1281. In terms of its view of the relationship between the people's religious beliefs and the realization of a peaceful society, on establishing the correct teaching holds an important position in Nichiren Daishonin's writings. The Daishonin lived at a time of authoritarian government, and he probably felt that through an appeal to the most powerful members of the government, he could help bring about a reformation of society. That his appeal was ignored only spurred his unremitting efforts to propagate his teaching for the peace and happiness of society, a task he would pursue to the end of his life. Thank you for bearing with me and listening. This is, of course, a very important writing, and you can't help but think about the condition of the world today, our country and all the other countries where fires are ravaging and storms and rebellion and authoritarianism. And hopefully helping you to read this document will help you in your practice, as it will help me. So thank you very much, and look for the next video in which I will start reading the Rissho and Kokuran.